Hi, welcome back to EducateTube.com. My name is Sipsky, your host. In this video, I want to talk about the Sony a7R3, why it's my favorite photography camera, along with my Fuji X-T3 camera. These two cameras is my most favorite photography camera that I ever owned. This one is a bit more expensive, however, I love it. Let's talk about it right now. Alright, so here it is, my Sony a7R3, my favorite photography camera, along with my Fuji X-T3 camera. These two cameras are amazing camera, and I hope that I can continue to use it for the next 20 years. It's that good. Hopefully it doesn't break down, of course. Alright, so talking about the Sony a7R3, the full frame camera, when you buy these type of camera, make sure you get the lens for them. I'm into street photography and portrait photography, so for me I need a prime lens, and those prime lenses that I recommend and that I have is the 28mm f2. This is an FE lens, a great lens by the way for street photography. It's pretty wide enough anyway, so when you're walking around on the street and taking photos, random pictures that you think is artsy, right? Then this is the lens to have. I think this is affordable and it's a great lens. The other lens now for photography is the 55 f1.8. This is also a very good lens as well for portrait photos. This is recommended because it's very sharp. If you check dxomark.com, you'll find that this is one of Sony's most sharpest lens out there, and the price is reasonable. Then the last one that I own, the prime lens, is 135mm f1.8. This is actually a Zeiss Sony lens. This is an A mount, so you need to buy an LEA4 adapter to mount into the E mount, because A to E, so you need this adapter. This is a very sharp lens as well, and it's a beautiful lens for bokeh. Same with the 55mm f1.8. So these two are beautiful portrait lens to own, and that's really what I have for the portrait and street photography. I have other lenses as well, which is more of the third party, like Sigma, Tamron, but those are more like a zoom lens, and they're okay. I don't really put them on unless it's video. Like video, you don't need the high quality image, you just need 4K, which is around 8 megapixel, whereas these lenses can go all the way to 42 megapixel resolution. So this is why I said get these lenses if you want highest quality for photography image. Now the thing I like about the Sony a7R3 is the ergonomics. Notice that I bought this leathered grip. It fit perfectly for my hand. As you can see here, there's about 1 centimeter thick in terms of it protrude out, and when I hold on to it, it fits perfectly with my fingers and hands. And I also like the wheels here in the front and in the back. It allows me to control the aperture as well as the shutter speed. So it's very fast how I control it. And they also have these function button which I can assign specific tasks. I also love the fact that the EVF is pretty high resolution. Now of course the more modern camera like the Sony a7R4 and the Sony a7S3 have a more high resolution of EVF, but I don't think you need that. I think this is good enough. The only issue I have is the LCD screen, which I think is not as high resolution, but for video work I think it's good enough, especially when you put in the focus peaking into this and you can see the outline. I think that's okay. So usually I'm doing photography, I don't look at the screen, I look at the EVF instead. Also, the thing I like about this camera is that it improved over the Sony a7R2, which I previously owned, and instead I end up upgrading to the a7R3, is the fact that it has a better battery system. So this is a newer battery. This is FZ100 compared to the FP, I think W50, right? Those are smaller battery, and it can last about maybe 200-300 shots, whereas this is like double the capacity. Maybe it can go all the way to 600-700 image when you're taking photography. So one battery will last me the whole day. Now if I'm doing photography and video, I would have like 2 more batteries, so that's what I end up buying. So I have a 3 set of battery. It's good for me the whole day. for taking pictures and videos. But this Sony a7r3 is meant for photography for me anyway. I do have the Fuji X-T3 for videos. That's the reason is because it can do 10-bit 422. This camera can only do 8-bit 422. Now, if you're thinking about the Sony a7R4, you say, why don't I get that? Well, that's true. You can get that. It's 60 megapixel versus 42. But for myself, I think 42 megapixel is more than adequate. Even if you're thinking about printing a large format like a billboard, I think even 24 megapixel is good enough. In fact, even 18 megapixel, because when you're looking at the image, you don't stand 2 feet away from that billboard. You're standing about 20-25 feet away from it. So even a 24 megapixel is adequate, and we have a 42 megapixel. 60 megapixel is great, but it does slow it down a bit, okay? And then you'll notice if you compare the buffers between the a7R4 and a7R3, this is a bit faster. In addition, you'll find that the image quality is about the same. In fact, DxOMark.com rate this as 100 points or 100 mark compared to the Sony a7R4. It's a 98 or 99, I believe. So it's 1 or 2 points less than this camera here, even though that camera is almost $1,000 more than this camera. So for bargain price, you can buy used. You probably be better off with this camera. Okay, the most important is the lens, so make sure you invest more in the lens than the camera itself. I think the a7R3 is a perfect camera for any occasion, especially when talking about photography. Now, video wise, it does do 8-bit 422, so it's not the 10-bit that the Sony a7S3 can do and the A1, right? But those are like twice as expensive as this camera here. So I would say, if you're into video, maybe you want to invest in those cameras. But if you're into photography and a bit of videos, yeah, this is the camera to get for sure. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.